Well, hey everyone, John from Big Dreams Travel here. And in this episode, I'm going to be joined by my friend and fellow owner at Big Dreams Travel, Lisa. And we're going to answer some of the questions like when can we travel again? And what will travel look like in 2021 and beyond? We hope you enjoy the show. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm John. Joining me here on the other part of the screen is Lisa. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Going okay here, I guess. I think, Lisa, this has been a spring and summer to remember, you know.
For sure. We'll never forget it.
We will never forget this time. Now, before we get going, everybody out there, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and like the video, and we'll keep doing some of this travel-related content for you. So for today, Lisa and I are going to look at a couple questions just regarding the travel industry in general and looking forward to things that are happening both now as the pandemic is really still going, but also some of what we think might happen in the tourism industry post-pandemic. And so we're going to kind of focus on some of the leisure destinations that we sell a lot of at Big Dreams Travel: cruising, Disney, Universal, and those types of things, and just kind of talk about maybe where we think things are headed. So Lisa, I'll let you kick us off kind of on that first question.
Okay, awesome. So, this has been a big question for a lot of people, a lot of clients. I'm sure you've been asked is when can we safely travel again? We've got lots of different protocols internationally and even domestically. So why don't we start talking about that first? And I know, John, you've changed your vacations many times because of different things and, being concerned about the safety of your family. So traveling near your home. So where you're going is kind of near to Oklahoma City. So tell us about.
Yeah, I mean, and Lisa, I think this is kind of a trend I've seen from a lot of people, just looking into destinations that are maybe a little closer to home, within a 1 day's drive, as compared to getting on a flight and flying across the country,
right,
to maybe a more major destination like Disney or Universal, or
right,
obviously nobody's cruising right now, or even internationally. There, you can still do some international travel, just not a lot of
right,
not a lot of flights going to those places. And so I think at least maybe, and I think this is in the near term, like over the next couple months as people travel, I think we'll probably see a lot of travel just locally.
right,
Like you said, we've changed our vacation 3 times this summer for our family. Not really because we're in fear for anything, but just because of the uncertainty of what's going to be open at this place, at this destination we're visiting. Vacations, they're not cheap nowadays.
right.
It's an investment for sure to do these things
Sure.
with your family. And so there's a risk in going to a place like Orlando,
Right.
not knowing, okay, what's going to open, especially in a situation now where cases have spiked in Florida. Whereas at least, as we've switched to something here, within a 5 to 6 hour drive from our house,
Right.
and that gives us a little more freedom. If something does happen, we're close to home.
Right.
We're within a 1 day's drive. It's things that are easier to cancel if need be, or if plans need to be changed.
Right.
And so I think we're seeing a lot of people look at that idea for travel here in the near future.
Definitely. I've had some clients reach out and ask about, the safety of flying domestically or the safety of flying internationally. And the main thing they're worried about is, their flights being canceled. And though we haven't seen a lot of flights being canceled right now, we saw a lot of that back in the beginning, and then
Yep.
all of the hubbub of everything. But you just don't know. I mean, the airlines are definitely trying to fill their planes. They're trying to start making the money back and all of that kind of stuff. But we don't really know. So my best advice is, I don't know. When someone asked
Exactly.
me about flying, I was like, you just have to be flexible and be prepared to stay another night or several hours in the airport if if your flight should happen to be canceled or changed.
And I really I think flying is one thing that, people are probably the most apprehensive about, or one of the things
Right.
they're most apprehensive about. So I would really research the airlines you're looking at flying, especially in the next couple of months. I know Southwest, I believe Delta, JetBlue. I think those are some airlines that they're continuing their policy of not selling middle seats, or
Right.
in Southwest's case, they're just not filling the planes
Right.
all the way. We've seen American and United come out in recent days and say, we're going to pack those babies as full as we
Yes.
can,
Yes.
because they're the money, or the bottom line of those companies are. I mean, it's on the line right now,
Right. For sure.
and so those are considerations. And that kind of just brings us to the overall risks and restrictions, like you were saying, of the places
Right.
you're going. Checking those state health department recommendations, and things like travel restrictions. If you go to Florida, and then there's some states, if you come home from, say, Florida, you've got to quarantine for 14 days.
Right.
There's still some states that if you come to Florida from those places, you have to quarantine for 14 days. So
Sure.
those are all
And
things
all
to
of that
certainly
is
look into.
changing. It changes almost by the day. Um, and so it's important to definitely do your research and check. I was to say, we've got a brand new list of what states are requiring quarantine from what states, but it's like I almost don't even really want to post it because it could be different by tomorrow.
Sure. And I think, me and you were talking, we've talked previously before the show about this, but, a beach vacation, that's something that's, with restrictions, that's still a very doable vacation.
Right.
Because you're not dependent quite as much. As long as you can get groceries somewhere, you can still
Right.
probably have an enjoyable time.
Definitely. Definitely.
Whereas, we have a theme park vacation planned. We've had 2 theme park vacations planned at this point that we're now moved on to a third option. But those things are just they're changing so rapidly, and especially everything is so volatile and changing
Right.
quickly, like you said. Another thing to talk about is international travel.
Right.
And we said there are some places still open. Um, there are a lot of restrictions still in place. A lot of destinations are requiring things like a negative test within 72
Right.
hours, or some things like that just to get in. There were talks of some destinations testing you upon arrival. I don't. I think there are some countries doing that. I don't think there's any. Hawaii had talked about that at one point, but I think now they're just requiring you to provide a test
Provide a test
within 72 hours. Of course, we talked about the reduction in airline capacity,
right?
which is making it harder to get flights. And of course, as it's harder to get flights, flight prices are probably they're not going to come down as much as some of us might think they would at this point. And then the last thing, kind of on international, is cruising. Obviously, closed right now. There's no cruising going on. I think most of them currently are closed through mid-September. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets extended a little further at some point with kind of the developments of the last couple of weeks. So, any other thoughts there on international stuff, Lisa?
No, not really. I mean, the main thing, we have to just remember that we still are under a level 4 travel advisory, and generally those are posted, for your very volatile nations and your war-torn, communistic countries that the State Department doesn't want our citizens traveling to. But even so, we're still under that level 4 travel advisory. And what I've just been advising my clients is just to remember that basically what that means is there's not as much help in getting you home if you're stranded. I mean, they're going to get you home. I mean, we've seen the government's been working really hard, especially when the pandemic first kind of hit its peak, to get some groups home from some third world countries. But, I just want to make sure everybody is aware that even though the flights are going and people are having a great time, we still are under that level 4 travel warning. And so we just need to make sure that we're aware of it. And again, I know in Jamaica, if you don't come with a negative test, they will test you at the airport. And if you're positive, they will take you and they will quarantine you in their government facility. So you want to make sure that you have your test in hand, because I don't want to be quarantined in another country's facility. No. So
not the way to spend your vacation days there,
no,
is it?
not at all. But yeah, I have, I've got a family in Cancun right now. They're having a great time. Everything was really easy as far as getting through customs and arriving in Cancun. And I have another family headed to Antigua in September, and they're watching those protocols daily, making sure that they've got everything they need. And, because people are ready. Some people are ready to go. Some people aren't ready to go.
Yeah, you're certainly hearing that as you
But
listen to people.
yeah,
I think what's interesting to me, and you talk about, there are some people traveling overseas. I think, this is a great example of a benefit to using an agent, a travel agent to help you, because they can kind of guide you to some of those.
right,
Right now, Jamaica may be a place, you know, is to avoid just for the current time. But there
right,
may be some other places that are much more conducive.
right,
The passport situation, it's a little harder to get a passport right now just because processing times are so much slower.
right.
But there are some destinations like the U.S. Virgin Islands or
Mhm.
other
Yep.
domestic places that you can get to. So, kind of the last thing, under this question of traveling pretty quickly here, we've kind of talked about pretty much traveling in the immediate future. Maybe the last thing is just kind of, Lisa, I know we've done a lot of work with our suppliers,
Right.
um, Disney, cruise lines, resort hotels,
Hmm.
tour companies. You know, from my perspective, they've been very good to deal with in most cases.
Yes.
They're being very accommodating in most cases. Some are offering refunds, not all are offering refunds,
Right.
but I think everyone that I've come across is offering a full future credit
Right.
for what people have paid, and sometimes there's some things to work through on that. But as far as that goes, I think it's been a nice relationship with suppliers. I think
Right.
they understand people really can't travel right now in some ways,
Right.
but they're going to want to at some point in the future, and they're doing their best to make that possible. Um,
Definitely.
we had one question down to talk about that I think people are probably, you know, wondering things like how long should we wait to travel, or how long do we postpone? If we're postponing a trip,
Right.
when's a safe time to do that for?
Right.
What
And
are you telling people?
um, I've been encouraging also anyone who wants to travel in 2020, which there's not been a lot, but there have been a few. I've really been encouraging that they purchase the supplier provided insurance, because it just helps make things so much smoother and guarantees so many other aspects of your trip. Even though suppliers have been great, sometimes if you have that insurance, it just makes things so much smoother, and it might even give you some additional perks that just moving or canceling won't provide. But from most people, if they have any kind of hesitancy, I'm just talking. It's like, well, let's look at spring break. Let's start there. Let's get through the winter, and you'll have something to look forward to coming out of the dreariness of January and February. And just start looking at 2021 and making it a big fun year.
I
You
think I thought about this for us. It's a situation like you said. If you're apprehensive about going, I don't want to be apprehensive about going
right,
and then not enjoy
not
myself,
have a good time.
not have
Exactly.
a good time. I mean, because like we said
Right.
earlier, you're investing a lot of money in this. It's something you want to enjoy. I remember back before spring break this year, we had a big ski trip planned
Right.
with some friends, and we had to cancel that, and we thought that was just the worst thing in the world. Never did we
Right.
dream that our July plans would be completely blown up
I know.
three and a half months later.
Right.
Yet here we are, and a lot of it is not necessarily fear on our parts. It's just apprehensive that experience may not be what you
Right.
want.
What you
And
want.
if you're feeling that way, that may be an indication to postpone or to
Right.
look at something
Right.
else, like you said. So
For sure.
those are kind of some thoughts on travel um, here in the next few months, maybe throughout 2020. Let's turn, Lisa, and look at what do we think maybe are some things coming down the road um, in 2021 and beyond. Hopefully, that is post pandemic.
Hopefully.
Obviously, if it's not, that date may change some. But
Right.
what do we think are some of the things kind of coming down the road as far as kind of the first question to tackle is, what do you think this is going to do to like availability, as far as airfare, hotels, resorts, theme parks? What do you think? What is your thoughts? And obviously, we are crystal ball just dreaming here on some of
Right,
this. But
right.
but what are your thoughts? What do you think this is going to do to availability, say in 2021?
Well, I have thought about that, and I've had some of my Disney clients even ask me, booking for next year. It's like, do we need to hurry up and book because are they going to stay at 25% capacity? It's like, well, we don't know, so maybe you should. I do wonder if they, if resorts and hotels will keep their occupancy down, just to keep everybody further apart. I don't. I wonder. I wonder how long housekeeping is going to be affected. Some people say room service will never come back, mini bars will never come back, but who knows? Um, as far as airlines, I think that airlines might be a different story. I think once we kind of get over this first hump, I think they're going to have to recover greatly, and
I do
I'm not
too, and I
sure.
think so many airlines, Lisa. So much of airlines is business travel too. You've got to think
Right,
that whole when it comes to
right,
airlines, that's going to be something that it's going to have to pick up back at some point.
right,
You would think.
right. Yeah,
And I'm kind of like you on the hotels. It is hard to know, and it probably depends on how the pandemic proceeds over the next
right,
3 to 4 months.
right,
What happens next year? Right now, Disney, for instance, you're only able to book 2021 in
right,
the resorts that have an opening date,
right.
so far.
Yeah.
I've got some people that really want to stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge,
Mhm.
and it's not open for booking yet
I
in
don't do that.
2021, because the resort, the DVC side is open, at
Right,
Kidani Village, but the Jumbo House, the bigger,
right.
the Animal Kingdom Lodge hotel building, it's not opening yet. I think it's going to open sometime here in July. So
Mhm.
it'll be interesting to see as those hotels come online that don't have an opening date yet.
Right,
That'll be interesting to see as
right,
far as Disney's concerned when you can
right.
book those.
Yes, absolutely.
So availability is going to be a big deal. You talked about theme parks.
Yep.
Many theme parks are going to reservations.
Mhm.
Um, Universal is not, but Disney is. Places like
Right.
Six Flags, and other regional parks around the country are most of them are using reservations. Universal's about the only one that's not.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. I was really surprised when Disney opened their reservation system. They just opened it up all through September of
Right.
2021.
Yeah.
I kind of figured it would be a 60-day thing or a
Right.
180-day thing.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't have been more surprised,
Yeah.
when they said it was going to be through September of
Yeah.
21.
Right. Big free for all.
And so that's interesting. The next thing, and you talked a little bit about housekeeping, but what are some of the things you think may happen? The cleaning and the sanitation practices of these travel vendors, going forward,
Right.
in 2021, maybe after this pandemic. What do we think maybe the lasting effects of that will be?
Well, I just wonder if maybe it's just going to continue. Maybe it's a good thing. You've always seen those undercover reports on Dateline or whatever, investigating the hotel room covers and the bathrooms and things like that, looking for the nasty places to stay. So, I mean, some of it might end up being just something better all the way around, um, making sure that really you're providing a clean, sanitized place for people to stay. I don't know how much of this was like, you know, I'm sure this probably wasn't transmitted through hotels, but other things that we have dealt with, other types of viruses or bacteria or things like that. So, I just wonder if it's maybe a good thing. Like my husband was saying the other day, he saw someone in the kitchen. We were at a restaurant and one of the guys from the kitchen brought our food to us and he had a mask on. He's like, that might not be a bad idea just for regular kitchen practice. Maybe that's just a good thing. Um, so who knows? I wonder if it'll have everybody just step up their game a little bit as far as really valuing providing a clean and sanitized place for families and business travelers um, to relax. Because I know it's going to be on a lot of people's minds. They're going to wonder, is this place really clean? Some people don't even get under the sheets in hotels as it is.
Sure.
So even now, it's like, it may, I don't know. So
Yeah, I agree. This could be a positive that comes out of this whole ordeal. I don't think there's anybody out there that would complain if airlines keep cleaning those planes to the extent they are right now.
exactly. Right. Because airline air is always gross.
I know I won't complain if they keep giving me a squirt of hand sanitizer before I get on a theme park ride.
Right. Just like they do on the cruise ships before you can go in to eat, they squirt your hands. And
exactly. So I do think we'll see some of those things into the future, kind of like you.
Right.
Kind of the next thing we thought of, we've really seen, and this was happening before the pandemic situation, but I think we're really starting to see it increase as these places reopen, is how they're using technology
Right.
to aid in this. I know
Right.
we do a lot of Disney stuff, but I think you're seeing this at a lot of places. Play like online check-in for your
Yeah.
hotels.
Great.
Some hotels I know. I've stayed at like Hilton hotels, and you can do
Right.
that in their app.
Mhm.
But it seems it's going to be much more widespread now. It's going to be much
Right.
more encouraged now.
Right.
Using your mobile app to unlock your doors. Disney's not sending free magic bands anymore.
I know.
Starting next year. Although I got some yesterday for my trip that was supposed to
Right.
start a week ago. And
Everybody's getting their magic bands. So hang on to those if you got them.
And so that was a cruel trick by Disney to still send me magic bands after we had to cancel our trip. But, using technology in that way,
Right.
online food ordering,
Yep.
all those kind of things. So I really think, technology is going to, and again, once they start using that stuff, I don't really think they'll go back away from
Right.
that
Right.
in the future.
Right. Yep. I agree.
And
I know when we're staying at the beach next week, I got in my confirmation, I had a link to online check-in. It was a Marriott property. So it's going to be interesting.
Okay, and kind of the last section I had down is what are some changes? I left the best section that we all like to talk about for last. What are some of the changes we may expect in things like food service? What do you think we might see on some of those things?
We've been so worried, especially my kids who love buffets. I mean, even my husband. I mean, some people really live for a buffet, and so you kind of wonder, like at Disney and on your cruise ships, what's going to happen? And people are like, they're gone forever. Well, I don't know. I read an article yesterday from Royal Caribbean that they said buffets are not going anywhere. They're not sure what's going to proceed. Either people will have their own serving utensils, or the crew will serve you, but they're not taking their buffets away. So that was kind of cool. Remains to be seen how Disney is going to handle their buffets. Have they said anything about the restaurants that are opening next week? I think it's family style.
Yes, I was going to say they haven't been super detailed. At least Disney has not, about how they're reopening some of these things. But I'm like you. I did hear some things. Chef Mickey's, I believe, Garden Grill.
Right.
Is it Topolino's Terrace? Is that the other one opening?
Mm-hmm.
I believe they've said all of those, and that one was already that was not a buffet to begin with, but the other two were. I think they've now said for the time being they're family style. Again, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how long that lasts. I was really encouraged by what Royal Caribbean said, because
me too.
Their CEO had said a few weeks ago, I saw an article that he kind of talked like we may not see buffets again.
Right.
And then he kind of backed that up a couple of days ago and said, well, I simply meant there's going to be some changes.
Right.
The personal tongs that you carry with yourself, or even if they just have an employee standing there serving everything,
right,
whatever that may be, I think that's good to hear.
Right.
I agree with you on that, just because the buffets, especially in a cruising situation,
cruise, right? It's like that's what people love. So
they give you such freedom, on a cruise to go eat what you want. So. The other thing we've seen is digital menus.
Right.
It has been, and that kind of goes under the technology heading. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's been really smooth at Disney. As they've kind of opened their resorts, we've kind of seen them use those digital menus with the camera app, and I think that's been really smooth as far as Disney's is concerned. So, anything else you think that we haven't covered? 2021 things that we may see carry over from this pandemic time?
I don't know. I just know that um, I'm excited to travel again. And I know some people were hit really hard financially from this, so a lot of people won't be able to afford to travel for a while. Um, so if you're in that boat, you can just keep on dreaming and adding to that bucket list and keep, planning for the day to where you can travel again. And those who are able, there's amazing destinations out there. And what we've learned is you can really book with confidence right now in case something were to happen next year, or if things aren't better, or if someone in your family has some health related issues that they don't need to be traveling. um, like we were saying in the beginning, our suppliers have been so good, and it's just great. So we can always push your vacations out. I mean, nobody wants to, but I think people can have a bigger sense of assurance that if things aren't better this time next year, you'll have the ability
Yeah.
to
I
change.
was I was updating some things on the website and things earlier today, Lisa, and every supplier that we use a lot of, Royal Caribbean, Disney, Carnival,
Right,
Adventures by Disney, Disney Cruise Line, Princess Cruise Line, Globus Tours, Avalon River
right.
Cruises, all those ones that we kind of sell a lot of,
Hmm.
or sell some of, they almost every one of them have what you said, either a book with confidence pledge,
Right.
or a peace, book with peace, or whatever, knowing that, and the dates may be slightly different. Some of them say, okay, you can cancel up until 2 weeks before your trip
Right.
and get a
Right.
credit.
Right.
Or you can cancel up until final payment, and that full deposit is refundable, is what
Right.
Adventures by Disney's doing.
Right.
I think Royal Caribbean, you can change your cruise up until 48 hours before that
Yeah,
cruise sets
that's
sail.
incredible. Right.
So you've got a lot of peace in that booking process right now, because those suppliers are being, like you
Definitely.
said, very good to work with.
Well, everyone wants to get back to living and back to traveling and back to making some money. And so whatever they can provide to the consumer as far as peace of mind, and this is a safe place to put your money for now, I think that's going to be really important to people, is just being able to not be stuck or not be out money come next year if they can't travel. So
Absolutely. Well, Lisa, I can't think of anything else. I think we've covered a lot of
yeah,
things there. We maybe come back on in a couple months and see where we are as far as
yeah.
travel for the rest of 2020, and see how things are opening up. By that point, we may have a date when cruising could
Woohoo!
begin. I think
I
that's
hope so.
a
We're
lot of
hoping
other.
in January, the first
Yeah,
week of January. So I
yes,
hope we're ready to go.
a lot of other things have opened by now. I did see in Europe they had the largest cruise ship to date has reopened, about 3,000 passengers.
Yes.
I don't even remember what cruise line that was. It was a European cruise line,
Yep.
but so we might be getting there here.
I
I
hope
don't
so.
know if that's set mid-September. I don't know if that will happen at this point, but hopefully close to that.
Yep.
Will be exciting.
Hope
So
so.
if you guys have any questions for us, comment down below under the video. Make sure you subscribe and like our video, and we'll bring you some more travel content. If you're ready to make the plunge and plan your 2021 vacations, which are about ready to book from almost anybody.
Yep.
Many suppliers have a lot of great deals going on right now. Just send us an email quote at bigdreamstravelusa.com, or you can find our phone number over at www.bigdreamstravelusa.com. Well, have a great day, everyone. For Lisa, keep dreaming of all those great future travels we're all going to have. See you later.
Bye.